All right, guys. So women's rights is under attack in America, right? I said it. Yeah, I said it. A conservative said it. Women's rights is under attack, okay? And it's not coming from the right, okay? It's not coming from conservatives. It's not coming from religious folks. It's not coming from even red pill men, right? It's not coming from sexists. It's not coming from any of those people. Women's rights and the attack on women's rights is actually coming from the left, particularly the progressive woke left. They are destroying women's rights as we speak. And I'm so serious about that. Okay? Because we've seen what is happening in sports, where you see the situation with Leah Thomas, okay, the transgender athlete that is basically destroying women's records and the competition in college gate swimming. Okay, we've seen transgender athletes, particularly transgender women, dominate when it comes to physical sports, right? Athletic sports. But now what we're saying here is something a little bit different, okay? As Jeopardy champion, Amy Schneider becomes the show's top female earner. Schneider, an engineering manager, became the show's first transgender contestant to qualify for the Tournament of Champions last month. Now, guys, here's my issue here, because I want to be clear about this. I have absolutely no issues whatsoever with transgender people competing against non-trans people in a game show like Jeopardy. Matter of fact, I have no issues with transgender people competing against non-transgender people in anything that's not a physical sport, right? Or a competition that involves some type of physical attributes or athletic ability. I have no issues whatsoever, right? You can play chess, okay? They can compete with non-trans people in games like, Jeopardy and chess and things like that. I have no issues with that, okay? Now, I do have issues with it when it comes, again, to sports that require athletic ability and physical contact and things like that. Yeah, I do have an issue with it, okay? Biological men and biological women should not be competing against each other in physical/combat sports, period. Regardless of whether or not you are a trans athlete. Doesn't matter, because there are physical differences between biological men and women. Again, but when it comes to stuff like this, I have no issues with it. In fact, I'll even congratulate Amy Schneider for their accomplishments on this show. Winning as much as Amy Schneider has won on this show and accomplishing the things that Amy Schneider has accomplished, it's not easy to do on Jeopardy. It is a test of intellectual ability. My issue here is the fact that they're framing this as this person becoming the top female earner. Okay? And I want you guys to understand the language problem here. Female does not refer to gender, right? That's if you go with the woke argument here, which is that biological sex and gender are different, right? That's their argument. I'm not saying I buy into that. I'm just saying that's their argument. Them characterizing this transgender woman as a female is essentially them erasing the difference between biological sex and gender, which is something they establish as a way to smear the right by saying, well, the people on the right don't know the difference between gender and sex. But apparently, the way all these mainstream media outlets are framing this historic accomplishment by this transgender woman, they don't know the difference between biological sex and gender. Or do they? Because what I would argue is that this was always the end goal, right? The end goal was never to say, hey, you know what? There's a difference between biological sex and gender. Let's just keep it that way, right? Men can be women, but again, that's just from a gender perspective. They'll always just biologically be different. That was never what they wanted, right? What they want is to erase the difference, period. They want to say that, no. A biological man can be a biological woman if they want to be. And that's my issue with this framing. Because they simply could have just said, hey, this transgender woman is the highest earning transgender person or transgender woman or whatever in history of Jeopardy. That's what he could have said. However, them calling this transgender woman a female, which is a reference to biological sex, it, again, in my opinion, is another attempt to erase the accomplishments of biological women, okay? At this point, we've seen how men simply seem to be better than women at physical sports, beauty pageants, And now we have game shows that test your intellectual capabilities. So biological men seem to be absolutely dominating women in everything. Okay? Again, people on the left see no issues with this whatsoever. No issues whatsoever. But as a forward-thinking individual, I'm seeing a pattern here that seems to be leading us down the road of flat out just making biological women replaceable or obsolete. Okay, because again, now they're trying to basically call transgender women females. They're trying to refer to them as biologically female. Okay, now they're talking about men being able to have uterus implants in the future, right? Being able to actually give birth in the future. Okay, that's what we're talking about. The idea used to be that men are replaceable and that women don't need men. Okay, but now it seems to be going the other way around. Okay, that seems to be what is happening. But let's actually read here about Amy Schneider and their accomplishments, just so that you guys kind of get a better understanding of what's going on here. Jeopardy champion Amy Schneider made history again on Friday, becoming the highest earning female contestant in the game show's nearly 57-year run. I don't understand why you have to say female. Why can't you just say transgender woman? Why can't you just celebrate it for what it is? Okay, if they just said transgender woman or transgender, I wouldn't even be making this video. I would have no issues whatsoever. None. Zero. I might even congratulate them and say, hey, congratulations. You made history. Great. Awesome. You made some money. The engineering manager's 18 consecutive win brought them a total earnings of $706,800, bumping them above Larissa Kelly to become the show's top earning female player. Kelly, a science fiction writer and academic who built up a record $655,930 through regular season play and tournament competitions, applauded Schneider's historic win on Twitter. Quote, well, it was fun to hold a Jeopardy record for a few years, but it's been even more fun to watch Jeopardy set new standards for excellence on the show and off. Congratulations to Amy on becoming the woman with the highest overall earnings in the show's history, she wrote. Again, this right here is the part about why this continues to happen. You have actual biological women that are signing up for this and not really saying anything about it, right? Not really saying anything about it at all. Now, again, because this is not a physical competition, okay, or athletic competition, she might not feel any type of way. Okay, she might feel like it was fair and square. Okay, she might feel that way. But I'm just saying, a lot of this stuff is happening because even when it comes to physical sports and competitions, right, that require athletic ability, in which biological men clearly outclass biological women, a lot of the women that are competing aren't saying anything. And if they do say something, then it's anonymous, right? And it's not enough to be anonymous at this point. You have to stand up and say, hey, no, I disagree with this. This is not fair. And that's the only way that this thing is going to actually change, is if women start speaking up, particularly when it comes to physical and athletic sports. That's the only way it's going to change, because otherwise people are just going to assume that, hey, biological women are cool with this, right? They're cool with it. Now, again, they may hold a record for the transgender women, and that's great. And if they happen to pass a biological male, you know what? I think that's appropriate to say, hey, that's a record that they broke, because technically there would be a biological male breaking those records, right? If this person happens to break the record for a biological male, I wonder would the woke celebrate that? They probably will. They probably will, as a way to say, oh, look at this transgender person beating, male and female records. That's what they would say. I think that the celebration for them beating a male record will be legitimate. That would be accurate. And I'm fine with that. I'll have no issues with that. But to say that they beat the female record and they're not actually biologically a female, to me, it just doesn't seem right, right? It just don't seem right. Schneider responded, tweeting, "Thanks so much. I'm honored to be in your company. I look forward to someday watching the women who beat both of us." The Oakland, California natives' record-breaking win marked the second time they made game show history this year. Last month, Schneider became the show's first transgender contestant to qualify for the Tournament of Champions, an annual competition among 15 players who have earned the most money from the prior season. Again, nothing wrong with that. That's the way it should be framed, right? First transgender to qualify, great, awesome, right? If you want to celebrate that, I have no issues, zero, because that's an accurate description, okay? Despite the historic nature of their win for the LGBTQ community, Schneider has said they do not want their gender identity to be their entire persona. Quote, I didn't want to make too much out of being trans, at least in the context of the show. They wrote in a Twitter thread last month, I am a trans woman and I'm proud of that fact, but I'm a lot of other things too. Well, that's good. That's great. Okay. And I feel like that would be something that people would recognize more. Maybe if you led with, hey, I'm an engineer, I do this, I do that, and maybe not lead so much with your gender identity. Schneider's win also made them the fourth highest earner in a single season, according to a tally on the show's website. Their earnings put them behind only Ken Jennings, James Holzheimer, and Matt Amadeo, who earned $2,520,700, $2,462,216, and $1,518,601 in a single season, respectively. On Monday night, Schneider nudged their earnings up to $745,200 with a 19th consecutive win. If they win again Tuesday, Schneider will make game show history for a third time this year, tying with supply chain professional Julia Collins, who won the most consecutive games among the show's female contestants in 2014. So another female record that will be broken or could possibly be broken by somebody that's not biologically a female. Okay. And for whatever reason, the mainstream liberal media is pushing this. Okay. They're pushing it. Again, I have no problems with this person competing. Okay. I think that that's great that they want to compete as a trans person. That's awesome. That's fine. But again, my issue is that when you frame this as a biological thing, that they're a biological woman when they're not, that to me is where you have problems. Because again, the argument from the left was supposed to be, well, gender and biology are different. They're not the same. Okay. And they've used that to smear people on the right as ignorant, right? They're ignorant of what gender actually means. But like the left always does, when you give them an inch, they'll take a mile and reveal what their true intentions were. The intentions are to smear the lines between gender and sex and to say, well, there's no difference, right? And that seems to be kind of what's happening here when all these news outlets are framing this as, a female broke this record. Okay, I couldn't even make this argument if they actually stuck to their own argument to say, hey, well, it was a woman that broke this record. I could be like, well, they're not using a term that's specifically for sex, which is female. I couldn't even be that upset about it. I couldn't even have that much to say about it, especially considering the fact that, hey, this is not necessarily an athletic event or anything like that. This is purely about intelligence, the ability to memorize certain things. That's what it's about. So there's no real unfair advantage or disadvantage here that this person has by competing in Jeopardy, because it's not an athletic competition, except the fact that they are giving this person a record that is supposed to belong to biological females. Okay, that's the way they framed it. Okay, they didn't say he broke the women's record, which is supposed to refer to gender, supposed to, according to left. No, it said they broke the female record. Okay, so now all of a sudden that standard to break that record is lower because they're being categorized by a biological sex that they're not. Okay, that's the issue here. That's the issue. So again, in my opinion, I don't necessarily think that this is right. I think this person, if you're going to rank them and give them a record, then it has to be among other transgender people or with biological males, because you're using terms that refer to biology to separate people out, right? So I'm just trying to hold Jeopardy to some basic scientific biological standards, right? So I don't know, man. I mean, now that I think about it, before I said that, there's no inherent advantage here from this transgender woman competing among biological women in regards to this record. But then I think about it, I'm like, the top record holders, the top three were men before in Jeopardy. Now all of a sudden you have a biological male passing the top biological female earner. I don't know, man. Maybe males do have some type of advantage when it comes to Jeopardy. But hey, I don't want to go as far as to say that men are inherently smarter than women. I don't want to say that, but I'm just saying, look at what's happening here. But who knows? What do I know? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.